Dynastic comes from the word dynasty. According to the historical definition of dynasty, it means a family or line of rulers, a succession of sovereigns of a country belonging to a single family. In politics, dynasty can be referred to as a rule in which the family's generation rules forever and there can be no change. In another context, a dynasty is a sequence of rulers from the same family, usually in the line of feudal or monarchical system. Historically, dynasty has been a context of monarchical system, but in the modern world, due to greed of power by political rulers, it's now appearing in republics. In this regard, that's when we bring out the term succession, which is the act, process, or rite by which one person succeeds to the office of another. Today we are talking about dynastic succession in the context of republic governance or politics. It's a rule in which the family's generation rules forever and there can be no change in a government. This is one of the major problems that political parties have to confront with and is a hindrance for ordinary citizens who aspire to join in politics. Dictators still occasionally seek to establish their sons as their heirs. They usually rely on force rather than the claims of heredity to achieve their objective. The problem of succession imposes great strains on any political order. The continuity of rule is broken. Established patterns of action are interrupted, and the future suddenly becomes uncertain. Political dynasties are not new, with families grooming and later handing over power to their offspring. However, this practice is detrimental to African countries, mostly amongst the countries ruled by dictators like Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, Congo-Brazzaville, Uganda, among others. There are several examples of political dynasties in Africa, including the Moi family in Kenya, the Kenyattas and the Odingas in Kenya, the Gnassingbe in Togo, the Debis in Chad, the Bongos of Gabon, the Akufo-Addo of Ghana, and many more. There are reports of South Sudanese President Salva Kiir grooming his son, Thick Mayardit, to take over power from him next year's presidential election. This practice, apart from promoting continuity within a family, only restricts power amid a few. The concentration of political power in one family alone for years gives it massive influence and gradually turns political rule in a country into a monarchical system. The system rejects the usefulness of political dynasties in any form in any country, because it means you deny the other people who would also have had an opportunity to be in power. Although political dynasties are found worldwide, it is quite different in Africa because of cultural influences that promotes fathers expanding their kingdoms and ensuring that their sons take over. In Africa, it is more of a cultural thing which has been translated wholesale into our modern democratic system of governance. In Africa, we lack competitiveness because often African leaders tend to groom their relatives to succeed without any competitive transition process. That in turn fuels political tensions, leading to upheavals and eventual revolutions. It is one of the reasons why Africa is lagging behind in all areas. In other parts of the world, the succession is based on a more competitive and open process than in African context. In Africa, people just groom somebody. You are my son, you are enlisted into the army and quickly promoted into Major General and you take over. That's Africa. African leaders are not interested in open and competitive succession processes due to their parochial interests. Most of these families have amassed a lot of money, stealing government money. They have amassed a lot of political influence. So they use it to leverage so that they can get power. Such leaders fear the repercussions of leaving office and facing accountability. So they will do all they can to protect themselves by prolonging lineage. Because such leaders have made a lot of investments, they want somebody who can either continue that particular process that they have started, or somebody who can protect the investment. Now, where a political dynasty thrives amid a lack of competitiveness and transparency, so does bad government and economic mismanagement. Such families loot state funds in most cases, hurtling countries into economic crisis and political tensions. As a result, citizens have staged protests and revolutions. Take an example in Senegal and Togo. There is high level of corruption, and those kinds of bad governance have a collective impact on the general life and livelihood of all citizens. Such leaders avoid being accountable to the people and behave like virtual gods. Many African leaders still have an appetite for power despite the emergence of modern democratic principles. We have Uganda, where Museveni is trying to bring up his son, Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Even Mugabe tried it in Zimbabwe, but it flopped because the wife was not politically strong. So when he tried to bring his wife, the military refused, and they kicked him out of power. Congo Brazzavilles President Denis Sassou Nguesso has appointed his son, Denis Christel, as cabinet minister, a move that has revived the media speculation that he has a dynastic succession in mind. In neighboring Gabon, President Ali Bongo Ondimba is the son of Omar Bongo, who ruled from 1967 to 2009. While in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Joseph Kabila ruled for 17 years after succeeding his assassinated father, Laurent Desire Kabila, as head of state in 2001. Equatorial Guinea's President Teodoro Bianga Nguema Mbasogo, since depositing his uncle Francisco Macias Nguema, the country's first head of state, back in 1979, he has already installed his son Teodoro Nguema Obianga Magu as vice president, in a pole position to succeed him. In Equatorial Guinea, family members of the president stand as the most relevant political actors. The most likely successor in the presidency is the incumbent elder son, currently the country's vice president. Political institutions are being used to secure a successful dynastic succession that is in Africa. Equatorial Guinea is the third largest oil producer in Africa, and given its tiny population, has the highest per capita income in Africa, but on the Global Human Development Index is ranked 135 out of 188. Viewers of Omunaala, after Chad's President Idris Deby died last month, reportedly from wounds incurred in battle with rebels, his son Mahamat, a four-star army general, rapidly emerged as the leader of the interim ruling military council. It's reported that his father groomed him right from the beginning to be the heir. There are rumblings about a possible family succession in Cameroon, where anonymous citizens movement campaign has begun to promote the image of Frank Biya, son of the 88-year-old President Paul Biya, who is not yet midway through his latest 7-year term. Frank Biya, who has always stayed out of politics, pursuing a private sector business career, and even taking care not to become involved with the bids of public sector contracts, indicate that he has nothing to do with the campaign. But nor has he asked the campaigners to desist. And currently, Uganda is seeing a social media campaign taunting General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, son of current head of state Yoweri Museveni, as potential governing party candidate for the next election, 2026. What Museveni is doing for his son isn't different from others whom we have mentioned in dynastic succession. It's a clear indication that he is preparing him for presidential post come next general elections. He quickly made a promotion within UPDF, although many of the Museveni's former NRA commanders the likes of General Sejjusa and Kizza Besigye opposed this. In September 2011, Muhoozi was promoted to Colonel. In early 2012, Colonel Muhoozi enrolled at the South African National Defence College for the Executive National Security Program. In August 2012, he was promoted to Brigadier General and appointed Commander Special Forces Command. In 2013 and 2014, Muhoozi was one of the senior UPDF commanders who deployed to support the government of South Sudan after fighting broke out in Juba between rival factions of the SPLA. In 2017, Muhoozi was appointed Senior Presidential Advisor on Special Duties, a position he held until December 2020, with senior command courses lined up, one after another, promotions after another. It was a clear indication that Muhoozi was being prepared for higher positions in the army and at the end, the top position. Whereas his colleagues were attending junior military officers courses, Muhoozi was sent to more senior military command courses above his rank to accelerate his promotions and the family agenda. His dazzling career trajectory saw him promoted to brigadier and put in charge of Uganda's all-powerful Special Forces Command. Before his elevation to Major General in 2016. To many Ugandans, his position as heir apparent was increasingly obvious, but the government took a harsh line against anyone discussing the matter. Proponents of what has come to be known as the Muhoozi Project in Uganda argue that the first son has been fast-tracked through the army hierarchy as a way of grooming him to control the armed forces and eventually take over power as head of state. Now he has already announced his retirement from the army after more than 2 decades of service. He publicly announced the retirement through his Twitter platform that has recently become his major tool of public communication. This is one of the moves many Ugandans see as a step for dynastic succession. Today, the term Muhoozi Project is no longer taboo and even used frequently in public platforms. Posters are everywhere in public places bearing him for presidency 2026. As a command of SFC, it is alleged that Muhoozi has been supervising the mass abduction, torture and disappearance of the opposition supporters, mostly NUP or People Power. Recently, his father admitted that SFC and his son were behind the gruesome crimes. You may recall how Muhoozi promised to beat very badly his father's opponents in 2021 elections. His military career and conduct isn't different from the sons of the former dictators in Africa who have taken over after the fall of their fathers, the likes of Joseph Kabila, Omar Bongo, Kanu Mahmati, and others. They behaved the same way Muhoozi does, which eventually made them successors. Basing on that background, it's profound to Ugandans to link him to a succession of his father, which automatically will drag Uganda into a dynastic succession policy. Muhoozi's popularity amongst Ugandans, mostly the young people, is so minimal. In case he goes head-to-head in unopen elections, it's difficult to win. Recently, a rumor of a constitutional amendment to remove mass elections surfaced, a move critics say it is intended to pave way for Muhoozi to get to power through parliament. In many cases, President Museveni has controversially amended the constitution to serve his interests. The recent amendments include the change of term limits in 2005 to allow him to stand for presidency in 2006 and beyond. Another amendment was the 2017 removal of the age limit that allowed him to contest the 2021 general elections, and now the intended amendments to revoke the adult suffrage as an effort to insert his son in the position to be elected the president by the parliament, which he controls. According to what's going on, the president's reference to the constitution is a hoax, since Museveni has repeatedly altered the constitution at critical times to serve his personal agenda. My assertion that the president is grooming his son for office is also supported by the African political history. It is not uncommon for presidents in Africa to prepare their sons for political leadership. Actually, according to me, dynastic politicians are much more effective at mobilizing resources and are much more likely to win elections compared to non-dynastic candidates. Dynastic politicians have an immediate network of resources and contacts at their disposal. When these individuals rise to the level of presidency, there is a sense that the population know what they are getting, which might be a stark contrast to opposition leaders who come out of the blue. If you take two presidential candidates and one wins with a very slight margin over the other, the one that gets into office is much more likely to set up a future dynasty. Uganda has a younger population. The last census carried out in 2014 found 78% of the total population were under the age of 35, and 20.6% of the population were between 15 and 24 years old. In politics, young people make up nearly half of all the registered voters, with approximately 6.4 million young voters under 30 years of age, and the biggest percentage of the youth is against the dynastic succession. That's to say, they do not support the endorsement of Lieutenant General Muhoozi Kainerugaba for presidency. Most of them, they are in support of the National Unity Platform President Kyagulanyi Robert Ssentamu, known as Bobi Wine, who came to the limelight in 2017 during the Kyadondo East by-elections. Ugandans are yearning to see change of guards from one president to another, as it is seen in other countries. The only problem of Uganda is overstaying power. Since 1986, Ugandans have had only one person in power, that's Yoweri Tibuhaburwa Museveni. Other countries have had peaceful transition of power and are doing well when Uganda is having only one president amidst all the problems Ugandans are experiencing. And now, he wants to bring in his son to take over power after him. Young people in Uganda face huge economic, political, and social challenges due to bad leadership, which is dictatorial. Young people do not feel represented by government and feel disconnected from their leaders. Despite around 30% of members of parliament under 35 years of age and 5 youth-specific positions at parliamentary level, 4 regional and 1 national chairperson, it is clear that there are not enough youth representatives in the government, and their interests are not well understood. They also express distrust towards government elites who use youth issues to gain support and advance their own interests. To strengthen the political representation of youth in politics, authorities, schools, and civil societies must work to address the economic and civic limitations that impede their capacity to participate meaningfully in politics. This means economic empowerment. Addressing the underemployment and unemployment problem is crucial, as well as increasing youth participation in other non-political organizations to acquire the necessary civic skills for political engagement. 2021 elections saw young people use their voice to edge their way further into Uganda's political landscape, despite the challenges they face. We look ahead to future election processes to see how young people will use this increased visibility to meet their needs.